Before I get to my questions, we start with a 5 to 6 minute opening statement from Rahul Gandhi about the two most important issues in Indian politics today. And after that, I will engage him in a discussion for 45 minutes or so. So would you like to come here?
Yeah. Thank you, Ashutosh. You know, you were saying T.S. Eliot said that April was a terrible month? Cruelest month. And you said it's a great month. It, of course, always depends where you're standing. So if you're in Brown University in April, it's quite a nice month. And if you're in the battlefield of Ukraine in April, it's quite a terrible place. And I think that idea that different people have completely different perspectives, different people have completely different experiences lies at the heart of Indian thought. There are three things I'd like to say instead of two. Two things that are going on in India and one thing that is broader taking place in the rest of the world. As far as the rest of the world goes, and I think President Trump diagnoses the problem accurately, production has been monopolized by China. Manufacturing has been monopolized by China. It is impossible for large countries to get employment for their people without a manufacturing base, without large-scale production in their countries. And the fact that production is monopolized by China is creating all sorts of political problems in the United States. In India, it is polarizing society, and it is completely transforming the politics. So that's one frame. The second frame, India in its constitution is a union of states, multiple languages, multiple traditions, multiple religions, different communities, all with different visions of India. And that idea of India as a union of states is under attack, systematic attack, by a narrow ideology, which is attacking our institutions, attacking our democratic foundation, and essentially attacking the voice of large numbers of communities in India. And finally, the third thing, which I think is equally important, is the participation of lower castes, weaker sections, Dalits, tribals, backward castes in the political infrastructure of our country, in the governance of our country, and in the participation of development in our country. So those three frames I would like to place in front of you. They're interrelated, they work together, they have to be seen together, and they're interrelated. So that's broadly how I would like to frame the discussion we're having today. Thank you.
Politics is often viewed as having two sides. On one hand, it's a pursuit of power, for which elections are the primary medium. On the other hand, it's an instrument of social change, for which movements are thought to be the main medium. Some observers have commented that you are uncomfortable with the idea of politics as a pursuit of power, and more comfortable with the idea of politics as a bedrock of movements, most remarkably reflected in the Bharat Jodo Yatra, which can be roughly translated as March for Uniting India. You once commented that power was a form of poison. What is your view of politics as a pursuit of power?
I wouldn't draw the distinction so clearly between movements and power. Large movements contain political power in them. And then if you're going to divide so clearly, then how do you explain a Mahatma Gandhi who doesn't hold political office, certainly doesn't quest for personal power, but is by far the most powerful man in India politically when he's operating, right? So I think when I said the line power is poison, you don't ingest poison, but you certainly, poison is used quite effectively for many, many different things, but you don't ingest it. So I find the blind desire for personal power distasteful. I don't like that aspect of it. But to say that I don't think that power is important and that power shapes society, power shapes politics, I think that's not correct. I just don't like that blind thirst for power. And it's very interesting. Now when I look back, the last 10 years, 15 years, a very interesting thing has happened, which is that a lot of the people who went blindly for power, because of the way the system is shaped now in India, are pretty much powerless. Because now that blind desire to get power has trapped them. That's what a lot of the corruption cases are about. So I'm against this blind rush towards getting personal power. Is power used in politics? Absolutely. Do I use power every day in politics? Absolutely. And do movements generate massive amounts of power? Absolutely.
Thank you.
I think, at least in the Indian frame, serious political people, and I would consider many of the people operating in our freedom movement as serious political people, have always had the sense of self-restraint embedded in their politics. You can see that in Gandhiji, you can see that in Mr. Ambedkar, you can see that among all the big freedom fighters. There is always this sense that I need to be disciplined, restrained personally. And I can be completely restrained personally and very effectively use political power to help people or to shape things.
Gandhi certainly did not see the need to be in government to exercise power and to shape society. Gandhi, I think, except once, never accepted any formal positions. But Jawaharlal Nehru was Prime Minister for 17 years, contested elections in 52, 57, and 62, and used power to seek to transform society, transform India. Is the Nehruvian view of the use of power, which was also quite restrained, but in many ways instrumental in bringing about fundamental changes in India, is the Nehruvian view of the use of power or the pursuit of power a view you would agree with?
Yeah, you mean the electoral view?
The electoral, using elections.
I'm a member of parliament, so I by definition agree with it already. But I think there's place for both those ideas, right? Gandhiji is trying to do something slightly different than Nehruji is trying to do. I think there's quite a lot of space for both.
There's a lot of debate in international circles about democratic backsliding in India. In the scholarly analyses, this debate is conducted in the framework of democratic theory, which lays out two conceptions of democracy. There is a minimal conception, which is purely electoral, and which asks only two questions. Can rulers be freely contested in elections? And can all adults freely participate in elections? One is about participation in elections, one is about contestation of the rulers. There is a second view, which is broader, which goes beyond elections and covers how governments conduct themselves in the 4 to 5 years between elections. Under this broader conception, we, the scholars of democracy, especially refer to the following freedoms: freedom of expression, freedom of association, which is basically freedom for civil society, freedom of religion, and protection for minorities. Scholars believe that India's backsliding is more in the broader realm, the realm between elections, less in the electoral realm. Even today, 8 to 10 out of 28 states of India repeatedly are won by parties that do not rule in Delhi. In the last elections, the BJP could not win a majority, and the Congress party, your party, nearly doubled its seats. What is your view of India's democratic backsliding?
I think it's on both sides. Certainly, it's very, very clear that it's on the institutional side. The intelligence apparatus, the police apparatus is openly used to attack political opponents. If you look at the cases that are filed, all of them are filed on opposition people. Almost none are filed on BJP people. There's intimidation, there's acts of violence, and that is going on. We always suspected that there was also direct intervention in the electoral system, and because many times the numbers wouldn't add up to us. And now in Maharashtra, it's crystal clear that that something very wrong happened in the elections. And I'll give you the numbers. 9 crore voters in Maharashtra in Lok Sabha election.
So 90 million.
Yeah. 90 million people vote in the Lok Sabha election. 5 months later, in the Lok Sabha election, 10 million new voters appear.
In the Vidhan Sabha election.
Yeah. Suddenly 10 million new voters have appeared from nowhere. The Election Commission is supposed to give us voter lists for us to check who these people are. We asked them multiple times, where are these people? Where have they come from? Who are they? They don't answer our question. And the most interesting thing of this is the seats in which these people are added are the seats where the BJP wins. So there's a direct correlation between where these people are added and where the BJP wins. In the Lok Sabha, we basically won the election in Maharashtra. And if you look at our scores remain pretty much the same in Vidhan Sabha and Lok Sabha. The only thing that changes is these additional voters, and they all go to the BJP, right? So that it's pretty open and shut. The Election Commission also told us, they said to us that a certain percentage of voters had voted by 5:30 in the evening. And then 6.5 million new voters supposedly voted in the hour or 2 hours after that. But if you do the math, because in India there's a time lag in the voting machine, it would take 7 or 8 to 10 hours for all these voters to vote. And so we asked the Election Commission, how do you explain that these 6.5 million voters have suddenly voted after 5:30? We didn't see any lines. We didn't see voting going on till 2 o'clock at night. And we'd like you to give us voting, the camera footage, which is compulsory now. And they denied it. And they said, we're not going to give you the camera footage. There's a law for us to get the camera footage. We told them, look, there is a law for us to get the camera footage. They changed the law, right? So it's crystal clear to us, it's crystal clear to Shiv Sena, it's crystal clear to NCP that the election in Maharashtra was not a free and fair election. If 10 million voters are added after the Lok Sabha election, right, and we don't know where they came from, and the Election Commission refuses to explain where they came from, and these are the voters that have made the BJP win, I mean, it's pretty clear as far as we're concerned what's going on. Right? So, and this sort of thing, we've seen it earlier in different states, and we've suspected it, but for some reason, it was massively overdone in Maharashtra, so it just became completely blatant. So I would say that the democratic backsliding is on both fronts. It is direct electoral and also institutional.
In recent years,
there's one building in Maharashtra, right? There's one building in Maharashtra which has 4,500 voters who voted from it. And when we went to the building, there's 20 people who live in it, right? And there's 4,500 guys who have supposedly voted from that address. Again, we asked the Election Commission, So these examples, there are 30 seats where the BJP just wins clean, and the only difference is these new voters that have been added to their tally. So it's anybody who looks objectively at the Maharashtra data will tell you there's something very wrong. And this is something echoed by BJP leaders as well. They'll tell us that, behind the lines, they'll also tell us that there's something very wrong with the Maharashtra election.
So the backsliding is both with respect to the electoral side of democracy and the non-electoral side of democracy.
Absolutely.
Both. Yeah. In recent years, you've emphasized caste
Also, the other type of backsliding, sorry to interrupt, is we win an election in Maharashtra, right? And then suddenly, there's a exchange of money, and then our MLAs suddenly turn around and go to the BJP, right? And that has happened in multiple states. It's happened in Madhya Pradesh, it's happened in Maharashtra, it's happened in Arunachal, it was attempted in Rajasthan, where suddenly huge pots of money are thrown, and then an elected government suddenly becomes a BJP government. So there are multiple ways in which this is done.
In recent years, you have emphasized caste injustices within Hindu society a lot. Fighting for lower castes and Dalits has a long history in India. Ambedkar, of course, is a leading thinker in that tradition, but there are several others. For example, Periyar in Tamil Nadu, Phule in Maharashtra. They're not the same, but all fought for lower castes and Dalits and or Dalits. What is your view of India's caste injustices and how should one address them?
I mean, I have slowly sort of become more and more acquainted with it, the depth of it. And I would say that if you asked me 10, 15 years ago, I wouldn't have had the sort of understanding I have now. And the math is pretty simple. Corporate India, right? Top 500 companies, top management, top ownership, absolutely nobody from the backward castes, from the lower castes. And now, backward castes are estimated to be 50 to 55% of the population, Dalits 15% of the population, tribals 9% of the population, right? So nobody from that group of people is in corporate India. There might be the odd exception, right? You look at the high courts, same story. You look at the Supreme Court, same story. You look at top bureaucracy, same story. You look at private medical colleges, same story. You look at private education, same story. We looked at Telangana and we're just horrified with what we're finding. If you look at government contracts across the board, government contracts don't go to lower caste people. So 75%, and I'm not even talking of the minorities here, 75% of Indian people simply do not have access to the contract system, simply do not own anything, right? You look at gig workers, you look at Narega workers, their ranks are full of lower caste people, Dalits, OBCs, tribals. And it's really, really stark. And the thing that surprises me is that, when I push for the caste census, I get this massive pushback which says, this is divisive. And my thing is, look, this is the truth. And if we're talking about building a country, right, if we're talking about India becoming a powerful country, a rich country, we simply cannot tell the bulk of our population that you're not going to participate, right? So to me, the caste census is basically putting the truth on the table, saying, look, this is what the truth is. And there are many people in India who just don't want to hear the truth. And they'll come up to me and they'll be like, this doesn't make sense. Why are you doing this? And I'll say, listen, 90% of India isn't playing in what you call modern India. No. That's fine. But why do the caste census? To me, it's very clear. It's the truth. And people of India need to know exactly the amount of discrimination, the extent of discrimination that's taking place. I don't believe that you should simply exclude the energy, the attention of 90% of your population. I don't understand how a country grows, prospers with that strategy. So to me, transparency, and I think the caste census is a very powerful weapon, is the first step. I was shocked. I must tell you, I'm absolutely shocked with what we find on this front. And it's shocking, the extent of it.
The caste census has taken place in how many states at this point?
We've done it in Telangana,
Yeah.
and I would say that's the one which has been done in a really robust fashion. Karnataka has been done also pretty well.
Bihar. Bihar's
Yeah,
not good.
Bihar. I mean, I think what we've done in Telangana is order of magnitude different.
I see.
So, fine, Bihar has done it too. But I think it's got to be done at a national level. You know, it will transform the way we think about development, the way we think about politics in India.
Next question is about secular politics and its role today. How should secular politics, which embraces all religious communities, be formulated in an age dominated by Hindu nationalism or in a decade dominated by Hindu nationalism? Hindu nationalism, not Hinduism, is what distinguishes the ruling party of India since 2014, now in a coalition. This distinction is important, and Mahatma Gandhi is the most famous example of this distinction. A very religious Hindu who was not a Hindu nationalist. A deeply religious Hindu as well as an Indian nationalist, but not a Hindu nationalist. Indeed, he was assassinated by a Hindu nationalist who said in his assassination trial that as a Hindu, Mahatma Gandhi's love for Muslims was so unacceptable to him that he had to be assassinated. In contrast, for Gandhi, being a Hindu and having affection for Muslims, or for that matter for any other religious community, were not contradictory at all. In posing a challenge to Hindu nationalism, should one look to Gandhi for ideas, symbols, and inspiration? Is Gandhi still relevant?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at pretty much all great Indian social reformers, political thinkers, and you go back 3,000 years, Buddha, Guru Nanak, Basava in Karnataka, Narayana Guru in Kerala, Phule, Gandhi, Ambedkar ji. You see one stream, right? And none of these are bigots. None of these people were saying, listen, we want to kill people, we want to isolate people, we want to crush people, we believe that things should be done in this one particular way. All these people, the voices of whom are frankly in our constitution, right, are essentially saying the same thing, saying that carry everybody with you, satya and ahimsa, right, truth and non-violence, and you can fit them all in there, right? The search for truth and non-violence. And this is, to me, the bedrock of Indian tradition, Indian history. I don't know of one person who we consider great in India, who wasn't of this type. I can't think of one, right? All our mythological figures. Lord Ram was of that type, right? Where he was forgiving, he was compassionate. So I don't consider what the BJP says to be the Hindu idea at all. I consider the Hindu idea to be much more pluralistic, much more embracing, much more affectionate, much more tolerant and open. And there are many people. There are people in every single state. There are people from every community who have stood for those ideas, lived those ideas, died for those ideas. And Gandhiji is one of those people. Probably the best in modern times. But there are many of them.
And all of them are marked by or characterized by the idea of inter-religious toleration.
I mean,
and not giving any particular community of India monopoly over political
Buddha
power.
was about truth and non-violence. Guru Nanak was about truth and non-violence. Basavana was about truth and non-violence. Narayana Guru, Mahatma Gandhi, Ambedkar, they were all about truth and non-violence. Right? And that's our tradition. To me, hatred and anger against people comes from fear. Right? You only hate somebody or you want to hurt them when you're scared. If you're not scared, you don't hate anybody. You're perfectly confident in your ability to deal with anybody. So to me, what a Gandhi or a Buddha or a Narayana Guru is saying is don't be scared. There's nothing to be scared of. Face your truth, face your reality, and deal with it. And this to me is actually the Hindu tradition. So I simply don't view the BJP conception as a Hindu conception. To me, they're a fringe group. But no, in terms of thinking, they're a fringe group. They're not mainstream. They're not mainstream Hinduism. Now they've captured political power, and they've got huge amount of wealth, and they've got power. But they don't represent the large majority of Indian thinkers by any means.